If you're feeling like you just don't quite have a handle on this social emotional learning stuff, you are not alone. Even with a done-for-you curriculum, you could be confused about what SEL actually is and how it plays a role inside of your classroom. You see, the trick is that social emotional learning skills for the classroom, they can't be taught in isolation. And in fact, we've uncovered the 4 pieces that when you put them together, they complete the puzzle for a holistic approach to integrating social and emotional skills into your classroom. And that's what we're going to tackle today. What do the arts have to do with learning in SEL? Oh, so much. Join me as we explore the depths of how these things come together through SEL, social, emotional, artistic learning. We'll look at the mindset, the methods, and the integrations that make SEL so effective. So plug yourself in. It's time to get inspired. Now, whether you have a done-for-you social emotional curriculum or not, chances are that you are like the thousands of other teachers that I've been in contact with just in the last couple of months who are struggling with student behaviors and big emotions in the classroom. And even after psyching yourself up in your car before going into the school, something's going to happen, right? Something happens. Students start shutting down, or they start acting up, or they just kind of like mope in the class, or they just don't even know how to enter the classroom. And you feel like 70% of your day is spent putting out all these little fires that just wear you down. Well, over the last 7 years of working intensely on how the arts and creativity can play a big part in helping students to develop their social emotional skills through SEL, social emotional artistic learning, I've uncovered the 4 pieces of this puzzle that when you put it together can really make a difference for yourself and for your students. And in this episode, I want to talk to you about 2 of these pieces. And the next time, I'm going to talk to you about the other 2 pieces. All right, so let's get started with the first 2 puzzle pieces to this amazing holistic approach to social emotional learning in the classroom. All right, the first piece is having embedded strategies. And this is where you learn how to be clear and purposeful with some creative strategies that embed themselves into your everyday routines. And because they become part of what you do, they are extremely impactful for your students. When you don't have embedded strategies that you use on a daily basis inside of your classroom, your students will end up finding themselves just constantly dysregulated and just plain not ready for learning. And that makes your job that much more difficult, right? Because then you're putting out fires more than you're teaching. These are the strategies, these embedded strategies that help to transition your students into the classroom and help them focus on their learning. Now, I teach in an upper elementary school, and for the last 15 years, I've taught either 3rd grade or 4th grade general ed. And one thing that my team and I do each and every year now is that we group our students into math groups, which makes such a benefit for their math learning. And for almost all of the years that we've done these math groups, I've been the teacher who teaches the most intensive math group, who needs the most intervention and support. And one thing that I've implemented with fidelity for the last few years is that I embed some movement strategies into the beginning of each and every math class period. So the students enter my classroom, we get into our frame of mind for math by doing some movements. And what that does is it helps them to transition into the classroom. It's part of our routine. It takes at most 5 minutes, and it just calms their brains and it gets them focused on the learning that we're going to do together for the next hour or so. It makes such a benefit to them. And because it's become an embedded strategy that we do on a daily basis, it helps them to understand, one, that it's part of our routine. It helps them to regulate their emotions as they come inside the classroom and gets their brains focused on the learning that we're doing. These creative embedded strategies can be just the trick that your students and you need to help your students to regulate themselves throughout the day. Now, the next piece of the puzzle involves consistent SEL activities. And these are creative activities that you can use on a regular basis to build relationships and help cultivate an atmosphere in your classroom that is just safe and welcoming. Now, when I say on a regular basis, I don't mean daily. These are different than the embedded daily strategies that you will want to use. These are things that you could do every week, once a week. You could do once a month. You could do it once a quarter. It really depends on what you teach and what your schedule is. But the important part is because they are consistent, you're doing them on a consistent basis throughout the school year. It helps to build relationships in your classroom and helps to really create that safe, welcoming environment that you want for your learning space, right? I love sharing one of our SEL teacher favorites. It's called Friendly Friday. In fact, I teach about it in my free webinar that I will link in the show notes so that you can check out this webinar and check out what Friendly Friday is. These activities, these types of activities that you can do on a consistent basis are what really helps those students who struggle making it to school or making it through the day, because they help them to feel more in tune with themselves, and it helps them to feel more connected with others in the classroom, which can be such a key to helping students to get to and make it through some of those tough days. Just last year, I had a student, we'll call her Sydney, who had a very, very difficult school year. She was struggling with separation anxiety and just some really big fears during the school day that would affect her ability not to just learn, but to actually be present and focus on her work. So getting to school and then staying there was a huge struggle for her. But what we started to notice when we looked carefully at her attendance, because her attendance was pretty poor, when we looked at her attendance sheet, we noticed that she really missed a Tuesday or a Friday. And when I learned this, I just had to smile to myself and wonder. So I asked her, Sid, is there a reason why you always seem to be here on Tuesdays? And I noticed this on Fridays too. And she told me, plain and simple, it was because on Tuesdays and Fridays, we had special activities. On Tuesdays, we almost always did some sort of gratitude activity. And in SEL, we call them Gratitude. And on Friday, we had just about every single week, we would do a Friendly Friday. And she just didn't want to miss out on that. These are the types of experiences that you can also provide for your students. I have no doubt of that in my mind. And you can be the teacher that your students need in their classroom. When you provide these opportunities, these experiences, you're showing how much you care for your students, you care for their well-being, you care for their learning, and you want them to be part of your classroom. You want to invite them with this caring heart into your classroom so that they can learn, because that's what it all boils down to. We want to teach. Our students need to learn, right? You want to teach, and your students need to learn. So I would love to hear about what you think about these two pieces of the puzzle. The embedded strategies that work their way into your daily routines, and the consistent SEL activities that help build relationships within your classroom. Now, the next time, we're going to take a look at the other two pieces of this puzzle that creates a holistic approach to teaching with social emotional skills through SEL, social emotional artistic learning. So be sure to subscribe, and I can't wait for the next time. All right, until then, have a good one. Thanks so much for listening. Please be sure to subscribe as we continue talking about arts, learning, and SEL through SEL, social, emotional, artistic learning. If you want to learn more, go to theinspiredclassroom.com. My name's Elizabeth Peterson, reminding you to get inspired so that you can be inspiring to your students.